everyone, and welcome back to the video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys the time where I got 12 brilliant moves in one game. This game was played on October 4th, 2023 between me and a guy named On. This account actually got banned 6 days after this game, so that's kind of interesting. But anyways, let me show you guys this game. And unlike 12 brilliant moves may suggest, this game is actually pretty terrible. And you guys are about to see. Okay, so as you can see, this knight d4 move, it's already really bad. But the idea of this move is, at the time, I was crazy going for this opening trap, where if they were to take, I would play, I believe it's queen here, and then the idea is to bait them into taking, which looks like it forks the two pieces, but it actually allows this move right here, and like let's say they try to defend the rook, which is the most common variation of this. I would simply be able to take here, and they'd either have to give up the queen, or they would block with the bishop, and I would have a smother mate. So this was the opening trap I went for at the time. It worked like a couple times, I'm pretty sure, but most of the time it would not work, and this is an example where it did not work, which is fair enough, I guess. But anyways, I just decided to take because, I mean, I liked trades at the time, and I just blocked off this idea that they had of taking this pawn and checkmating me, which, I mean, like, I kind of gave them this in a way. So, as you can see, their position's already quite a bit better than mine. But anyways, they played bishop g5, and I played h6 here. Now, nowadays, I'd probably play something like bishop e7. I feel like this move is much more solid. But, yeah, I mean, h6, it's decently alright, because I guess after a couple trades, all I end up with really is just doubled pawns, which I believe is what happens in the game. Yep. And then they play knight c3, and they've already got two pieces developed, while I have none. But my position is better than theirs, because I have bishop pair, but it's, like, very slightly better. And as you can see, slightly better is not enough for it to actually be better at this level. And eventually they play this knight d5 move right here, and they fork my two pawns, so they can simply, I mean, they can pick up either of the pawns, but if I let them pick up this pawn, then they actually get a fork, and they're going to pick up my rook. And by that point, it's just going to be completely winning. So I play bishop d6. It's a sneaky move defending the pawn, because I was like, maybe they'll take, maybe they won't notice the bishop. They of course noticed. So that is pawn number 1 off the board. You should keep track of how many pawns are off the board. But anyways, I play king e7, I attack the knight, and then they just go back. Why not? But then they play h3, and then I play c6. I kick the knight away. And they decide to go back to f6, so I just play the exact same move again. And then they play knight g4, which is a pretty solid move. I know the engine's saying it's an inaccuracy, but it's still pretty solid. So I play h5. I kick the knight goes all the way to e3, and I'm like, you know, I might be able to get my position back in shape again. Then I play a5. Yeah, this move is not good. The reason being, there is simply knight f5. Now, if you're curious why I put this a5 move, I'm pretty sure I remember. Basically, my idea is, let's say they castle, then I would have b5, and if the bishop moves, I would have this a4 move right here, and I trap the bishop in. Of course, not seeing this knight fork right here, which simply wins my bishop because my king gets kicked away. And that is what happens in the game. They play knight f5 check, and then they simply pick up my bishop. But at least I'm still able to trap them here. And they decide to simply take this bishop here. What they were supposed to do here is they're actually just supposed to take this, and if they take that, then they can actually get out of this with an extra piece on the board, and there's like no chance I would have been able to win here. But anyways, yeah, they play the wrong move because they just think simplification's a good idea, and eventually I am able to pick up this bishop. But in the process, they pick up a second pawn, so now they are like completely winning almost, but not completely yet. Actually, I feel like there's still some chances maybe on the board. But now, after this, now they are completely winning, because they're simply going to pick up a third pawn, and 3 pawns is pretty much enough to say you're winning. So I play rook c6, I try to get a trade in. They obviously don't accept it, they just take the free pawn. And eventually, a couple moves later, I have to defend this pawn like crazy, or else they're going to win it. But eventually, I actually just let them have the 4th pawn. So they've picked up 4 pawns now, and they still have all 8 of them on the board. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I counted that incorrectly, but it is 8 pawns. So I play rook c7 because I don't want to just let them trade off rooks. I want to keep my rooks on the board to have some potential ideas. And they pick up a 5th pawn there, as you can see, and I actually sacrifice a 6th pawn because I start to notice something with my position. So the game continues on, rook g7, and after g4, rook bd7, I eventually lose my 7th and then my 8th pawn on the board. So they have all 8 pawns, I have 0. And what I do at some point right here, they play rook f7, I decide to go for king a6, and this looks like it just gives up a rook, which it actually does. That is like pretty much the best move right there. But then I play this check right here, and the best move for white here is to simply play rook h5, because if I take, they take, and then I have a move that I can play. I can take this pawn, and it's simply going to be winning for them. But they actually, they actually don't find that move, and they play king g3. So I decide to take this pawn. And if you're curious why this isn't drawn already, it's because if the king actually stays in the center of the board, the king can eventually escape, and it's not going to end up being a stalemate. As you can see, like, I mean, right here, I guess you could play this, and now this square is blocked off, and you escape without a stalemate. But they actually, they decide to go this way to g5, and then eventually they make their way back to g3 again, but they play king g2, and it's still winning for them. But then I play rook h2, and then they play the biggest mistake of the game, king f1. And the reason this is a mistake is because I can take this pawn right here, the first brilliant move of the game. And if you guys haven't seen it already, if they take this rook right here, their rook defends this pawn, which covers the b6 square. This rook covers the a and b7 square, and then this rook covers the a and b5 square. But the only difference why this is actually a draw now is because there's no way for them to get off of the first rank. So I just continue checking, and I keep farming brilliant moves. They never take because they don't want it to be a stalemate, but I just keep sacrificing over and over again. If I were to play something like this, I would just give up all of my advantage, but I smartly find out that if I just stay on the second rank, continuously give checks, it'll eventually end in a draw. So this is still the most amount of brilliant moves I've ever gotten in a game to this day. I think my second most is like 3 brilliants, but it was actually a win, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, this was a pretty crazy game. Of course, this game was really terrible, and yeah, I mean, I don't know if I deserve the 12 brilliant moves, but I'm very happy with it because it's like a game I'll always look back to. If you're curious about the accuracy, it was 88.4% to 87.8%, so my opponent did play better than me. Although I feel like the brilliant moves inflated the accuracy a lot, so it'd probably be closer to like a 65%, maybe a 70% game. So anyways, if you guys found this interesting, then be sure to comment down below any suggestions for this channel. And anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye!